Hey everyone, it's Noxy. So over the Halloween stream, we did a PGC 2022 tier list, and it was a ton of fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I decided to turn it into a YouTube video. But I wanted to say a few things first. Mainly that it was for fun, right? These are my opinions as an avid watcher, fan, observer of PUBG esports over the last 4.5 years. And I tried to use quite a bit of statistical data in order to kind of support or show my way of thinking. But mainly their opinions, right? And your opinions might be different, and that's perfectly fine. If I actually said anything that's factually incorrect, please feel free to correct me in the comment section. You won't hurt my feelings. There was a few misspeaks that I've had that I had to text over, and that's mainly because English is my second language, and I think in Polish, and sometimes what I think does not actually come out of my mouth the way that I want it to. It is what it is. And then lastly, this was for fun, right? I would love to do more of these in the future. So please continue the conversation in my stream, in the comment section, on Discord. And, you know, drop a like, subscribe to the channel. It all helps. I really, 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 really appreciate it. And I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Thank you. All right, chat. Let's start with S tier. So for S tier, these are my probable winners, right? And there's 4 of them in my mind. New Happy, Sonics, Twisted Minds, Petrichor Road. Those are my S tier teams, right there, the 4. If I had to choose a winner to win the whole thing, it's going to be one of those 4 teams. New Happy has been pretty much the most dominant team in PUBG esports in 2021 and 2022. They won PGC 2021, right? They won Worlds last year, so they'll be defending their title. They won PCS 7 just last month. They pretty much win any sort of small regional tournament. They have absolute beasts on their team, with Zap being the 4th best player ranked in the world. That team is scary good, scary aggressive, great in rotations. Absolute juggernaut. They're right now my favorite to win this tournament. Now, Sonics, if you look at Sonics on paper, right, they should be the clear favorite for this tournament. I'm sorry, this is not, I'm trying to take the Americas region bias out of it. There's no emotion, right? We're gonna look at numbers, we're gonna look at statistics. I believe that on paper, Sonics is the favorite for this tournament. They have one anomaly on their record, and that's PGC 2021, where they just did not perform well, and that's mainly because they were contested in Picado and Pochinki against 17 Gaming and didn't do that well. Out of the 6 drops before they decided the first day, they dropped all 6 times, and out of the 6 they've lost 4, where 17 was able to clean wipe them, meaning that 4 players were up and only once, I think, a 3rd player was, only 3 were up. And then Sonics won twice, and both those times there were only 2 players left, and they couldn't capitalize on the later part of the game in order to actually get points and make up the difference. Is there a different team that is going to hot drop them this time? And that's a great question, and you lead me into exactly why I have them behind New Happy and not in front of them. I do not know right now. I have not been following Twitter or streams of any of the players that are in Dubai or scrims, whether Sonics have Pochinki and Picado uncontested. If they do, this is my order. If Sonics has Pochinki and Picado, I'm choosing them to win this tournament. But I don't think 17 Gaming is going to give that up. And if it comes head to head, if they don't have Pochinki and Picado, I still think that they're going to do well, because they're not going to hot drop and lose 6 games for free. But I don't think that they'll beat New Happy, because I think a lot of their success is because of Pochinki and Picado. And I think Purdy Curdy did a great video on it a while back, about a year ago, about drop spots and how Pochinki and Picado are pretty much god tier drop spots. But here's what I'm going to say, right? Nobody has contested Sonics in Pochinki and Picado in NA, excuse me, the Americas region. Now it's the Americas, right, with Latin America, so I want to make sure I get that right. In 3 years. So when they finally got booted out of there by 17 Gaming, I don't think they had enough experience to play out of an alternate drop spot, which is why they didn't do well for the remainder of the tournaments while they got pushed out of those draft spots. This time, I'm pretty sure that Huynh and the team is ready for it, right? So if they lose Picado and Pochinki, I guarantee you that they have some games and some VODs and some scrims drop into an alternate drop spot that they can play a lot better out of. So I don't think they'll have as bad of a tournament as they did a year ago, and we'll see them in form like we saw them in PGIS and basically dominating Americas. Like, if you, it's not, again, going back to statistics and looking at the paper, right? Sonics have won 5 out of 7 PCSs in Americas. 5 out of 7. The only other teams that are close to that are Twisted Minds or NLT that have won 3, and Petrichor Road that won 3 in their respective region. That's it. Sonics has 5. And you can talk about the Americas region not necessarily being as competitive. Like, it's very top heavy, right? You have your 4 good teams and everybody else is not that good. But still, to win 5 of 7, that's a feat, in my personal opinion. And then, furthermore, when you look at it, if you look at the world rankings of the best players in the world, right now, Tiggy is number 2 and Shrimzy's number 3. So you have a Sonics team that all they do is win regionally. They've won PGIS, struggled a little bit in PGC 2021, and then have the second best player and the third best player on their roster worldwide. That team on paper, if they have Pochinki and Picado, should be everyone's clear favorite, in my personal opinion. And that is not America's fanboy talking. That is just numbers. Anyway, that's kind of how I feel about it. I think they'll have a good tournament. If they have Pochinki, Picado, they're my favorite. If they don't, New Happy's my favorite. And then the other 2 teams in S tier, I have Twisted Minds or NLT, coming out of the European region. Clearly the best team out of Europe. That team has been together for 3 years now. But Tulins has that team operating on the highest peak of efficiency. Like, that team is scary good. Their ceiling and their ability to, like, just have 4 wins on a day and just outperform everybody, like basically score, 80, 90 points. That's the one team here. If I had to put money on doing that, it would be it. Team is scary good. I would love, and then they performed really well in PGC 21. They got 3rd place, and obviously they dominate the EU region. They've won 3 of 7 PCSs, and they were 2nd in PCS 7 behind question mark. But yeah, Twisted Minds, nothing more to say about them. I think they're an amazing team. And then Petrichor Road, same thing. Dominant Asian team, Chinese specifically. Them and New Happy are basically the 1-2 punch for the Chinese region and Asian region in general. They've won pretty much everything. If New Happy's not winning, Petrichor Road is winning. Petrichor Road is not winning, New Happy's winning. And they've proven that they can play at an international stage as well. So, and on top of that, Petrichor Road has the best player in the world in Ixleft, ranked number 1 right now. They have him on the team, and that's got to speak for something because Ixleft is absolutely cracked. So that's my S tier. Those are the teams that if I had to pick a favorite, it would be one of those 4 teams. I will be surprised if one of those 4 teams does not win this event. Let's go down to D tier. Let's talk about the teams that I don't think will do well, and I don't think they'll even make it out of group stage, to be honest with you. And there's a lot of them. So just bear with me. And again, D tier, no world international experience, players new to that stage, really no LAN experience, no regional wins. Somehow they just made it into this event. They struggled and maybe had a one-off here. I don't think they're making it out of group stage. So I'm just going to place them, and then we'll talk about order. I'm missing some. All right, so this is my D tier. All right, so I don't think these teams are going to do well in this tournament. Let's talk about why. I'll go left to right, and then we'll rearrange them based off I think how they're going to do. So Theraton 5. And I am sorry, I mean no disrespect to the APAC region, but there is no statistical data to prove that APAC region does well internationally. They just don't. You look at PGIS in 2021, Brewery Ram is the only team that the best team was Brewery Ram, and they were 23rd overall. And then you look at PGC, Brewery Ram again, made it to the Worlds and finished 22nd. That's it, right? So they can't even break like the teens. So there's just no statistical data to prove that for whatever reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's the play style, maybe the very aggressive play style, giving up positions, bad rotations, whatever they do regionally just does not translate well to international play. So I cannot look at Theraton 5, a Taiwan, or not Taiwanese, a Thailand team, and expect them to do well. I just can't. So they're not tested. They have actually never made it to international events. Some of the players might have, but not the team itself. It's going to be their first rodeo. They don't even do well in their own region, right? That region is dominated by Day Trade Gaming and Brewery Realm. So I can't, in good conscience, put them anywhere higher than D. I just don't think they're making it out of group stage. Moving on, Donuts. Donuts USG here. It's a Japanese team. Japanese teams, for whatever reason, do not typically do well internationally. You can Donuts has won their Japanese regional tournament in 2022, but they're probably the best team coming out of Japan. When you look at PGIS and you look at PGC 21, and when you look at PCS 7, 6, and 5 out of the Asian region, the Japanese teams are always at the bottom of their leaderboard. I don't know why. I feel like they're very passive. They're not aggressive. They don't push fights. They don't third party. They get caught up a lot in rotation, and unless the circle lands on Donuts PSG or USG, excuse me, don't expect them to win a game. That's just it. I don't even expect them to make it out of group. Team Expendables, again, another APAC team, same story. No world experience. Play style is just not good for international play. I think they'll get rolled over. I'll leave this team for last. SGD, a lot of good lads on this team. A lot of good lads that play. Sophia plays a lot with the European boys, but again, their first event was PCS 7, where they did well. It's why they qualified, but that's it. They have 4 tournaments under their belt, and one of them is a Malaysian tournament from the series in Oceanic. There's not a lot of pedigree there, and they're untested at the world stage. I think there's going to be a lot of jitters. I hope that these guys prove me wrong. I really hope these guys prove me wrong, but I just don't feel that they're going to do well. Cerberus, another APAC team. I honestly don't know how they make it through. They have one good finish in the PCS 6 as second place, and that's it, which is probably why they made it through, is because of that one particular well-played tournament. Everything else is outside of top 6 with no world international experience. I just don't think that they'll do well. Wildcard Gaming, formerly Gascan, they do have Waiki Kamuka, who has international experience, right? And Nikus is absolutely cracked, in my personal opinion. And Adam is a great IGL who also has international experience playing at PUBG Nations Cup for Team Canada. But this will be the first time that they play in this type of format. And at best, they're the 3rd best team coming out of the Americas region, with really no true experience in World. So it would be a great experience. It would be a great tournament for them to kind of like get that out of the way, you know what I mean? And then moving in 2023, I think they'll be a much better team for it, but I just don't think they'll do as well in this tournament specifically. So they're in my D tier. Lastly, Take Me Away Gaming. By the way, sure, you're in D tier, but that's the best name out of this entire tournament. Take Me Away Gaming, like, that's awesome. Anyway, I don't know who that team is. I really don't. They have 2 tournaments under their belt in pedigree, and both in 2022, in which they finished 10th and 11th, right? And they're regional tournaments. They're not even PCS. They're not majors. I have no idea how this team is in PGC 21. As far as order here, I think that the best team is going to be SGD. I think Wildcard is going to do well. Thai teams typically do better than expected. So I think I'll leave it like that. I think that's good order for me on the D tier. All right, let's move into the meat and potatoes of this. So I guess we'll start with we'll go line by line. I think so. Brewery Ram, right? Brewery Ram is an aggravating team, and anybody that's a fan of APAC knows this, is because the individual skill of the players, they're all cracked. They can play really well, but they just have weird rotations, and they were sometimes super hyper aggressive to their own detriment. And it's been shown on the international stage. Again, 23rd in PGC, 22nd in PGIS. They've not been performing well internationally. Very much reminded me of Temple Storm, who basically ran the tables in 2019, 2020 on the NA region, and then when they got to Worlds, they just absolutely cracked, or cracked under pressure. They just did terribly. So I cannot rate Brewery Ram any higher than a C. I just can't. I think I think this is going to be another one of those things where Brewery Ram is going to somewhat disappoint, and they're just not going to perform well. However, they do have regionally with day trade kind of like running the APAC region and can potentially do well. So we'll see. Yahoo. Might have to remove these guys. This is tough for me. So I'm gonna put them in B, and here's why. Yahoo has Sparking, Kunage, Balefrost, and Shinobi, what we call him. Kunage and Shinboy were second in PGIS with Zenith Esports, playing with Kick and Roth, and basically, you know, got a mill there with second place. Amazing experience for them. So they're not going into this empty-handed in terms of their experience, right? Balefrost has been on E United for ages now, for 2 years at least. So he's got plenty of experience himself. And then Sparking is an absolutely cracked unit out of Brazil, Brazil was third, by the way, at Nations Cup. Third. If I told you that Brazil was going to be third, and actually they were second until the last game, and had a chance to win the tournament. But if I told you that Brazil was going to do well in that entire tournament, you would have called me crazy. You just would have. So there's a ton of pedigree on that roster. And yes, they did not make PCS 7. Understand. But they did really well in PCS 6. They did really well in PCS 5. And the pedigree of that team says to me that they're not going to crack under pressure when it comes to land international event in Dubai. So as far as I'm concerned, this is a B team, and I have high hopes for them. I think they have a little bit of that Rumblers PGC 2019 vibe, where nobody would have expected Rumblers to be the best team coming out of NA. Hi, baby. You don't agree with me? You don't agree with me? She either agrees with me or doesn't. I don't know. I can't tell. But that Rumblers effect, right? Where nobody would have expected Rumblers to be the best team out of NA in 2019, but they were. So I think Yahoo's kind of going to be this similar. I think their ceiling is super high. And I hope that the next time we do this tier list, they're going to end up being an A. Because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Entropic. Yeah, I'm conflicted about Entropic. I'll be honest with you. I think they're B tier. I think so. I've seen some people talk about Entropic needing to be an A tier, but I think they're B tier. So Entropic won PCS 6, and they did not qualify for PCS 7. Right? Very wishy-washy, very feast and famine there. But they do win quite a bit of small regional tournaments in Europe, and that team, when they picked up Nailub, I think they're just miles better. And I hope to see them play really, really well. But I think they're a very feast or famine type of team. And they're either going to do terribly, or they're going to have a pretty good top 6 type of event. I don't think there's any in between. This is a team that I can see not make it out of groups, or make it out of groups and have a good tournament. Kind of how I see them. And they'll have to be tested. They'll just have to be tested. I've been following Entropic for 2 years now, hoping that they actually may take the next step and get out of start performing well on the regional stage and possibly get themselves into an international event. And finally they did. So I'm very excited to watch them play in PGC. And I wish all those boys a lot of luck, but I think they're a pretty average team right now. So I think I'm going to put them in B tier behind Yahoo. I think Yahoo's ceiling is higher than the Tropics. Gen.G. All right. So Gen.G. The Gen.G of 2019 and 2020 is not the same Gen.G of 2021 and 2022. When Pio left that team, when Loki left that team, it is not the same team. And there's a weird thing going on with the Gen.G where one year they're amazing and the next year they're absolute trash. For reference, here I'll give you a reference. 2022 earnings, current earnings for Gen.G, about 40K. Last year, a mil, 1 million in winnings from PUBG, right? This year, 40,000. 2020, their earnings about 80,000. 2019, 1.2 mil. So you go from 1.2 mil to 80,000 to 1 mil to 40,000 currently, right? That team is either going to pop off or not. But I cannot deny the fact that they've played well in their region. They're probably the best Korean team coming out of Asia. And I got to give them their due. But mark my words, this Gen.G is not the same Gen.G when they had Loki and when they had Pio. So it will fall onto Enonix to take that team and get them to the promised land, right? But I still think they're an absolute juggernaut. They rotate well. They seem to play edge very well as well. They're aggressive just enough. And when they have an advantage, an opportunity to win a game, they will. So I won't sleep on Gen.G. There's not a world in which I rank Gen.G lower than A, but I don't think that they're quite S tier. I think they would have been S tier with Pio and Loki on that team, but alas, not the case. So we'll see. We'll see where Gen.G ends up in PGC 2022. But the best Korean team, I think they deserve an A spot. Question mark. No, Noxy, how can you put question mark in A tier? Because they're that freaking good. If you were following the EU region and what was happening in 2021 and 2022, you saw question mark winning PCS 7. You saw it. A doozy, by the way. I think he's my favorite player currently out of Europe. I think when Navi dropped the doozy in Pokemon Holdoi, that was to the detriment of that team. I think Aduzi is absolutely cracked. I think question mark, the other players there are absolutely benefiting from his leadership and from his like years and years of experience on much better teams. So PCS 7 winners by a mile. CIS teams are just really good in general, and I think this team is going to come into PGC and absolutely wreck shop. So I'm very excited to watch them play. And sure, this is going to be their first international event, playing together as a team. But there's plenty of experience of that team from the players there with the Doozy in leadership, that I cannot rank that team any less than A. I think they'll clearly make it out of group stages, and I think they will easily make around that top 6. High hopes for question mark. Tiamba. Tiamba. I think they're going to be bottom of B. I wouldn't quite put them in top C yet. I think Tiamba is a B team right now. I think Tiamba is a scary team. I think they are aggressive. Their players are cracked, but they haven't done anything. What do I mean by that? So Tiamba wins PCS charity event. When the first PCS event was it was a charity event, and they won it. So everybody got on the Tiamba hype, right? And we're like, oh yeah, Tiamba's a great team. and they struggle in PCS 1, struggle in PCS 2, struggle in PCS 3, they struggle in PCS, and they just struggle, and they can't break through and win. They do enough to get qualified for these international events, and they perform just in the top 6 of most Asian events, PCS 5, 6, and 7. But as far as Worlds is concerned, and internationally, let's look. Not even in PGC 21 top 10 list. Nowhere close in PGIS list. They're great. They're a good team that has to prove it. I think they're your run-of-the-mill average team, and I won't be surprised if they make it out of groups, and I won't be surprised if they don't. That's kind of where I'm at with them. Yeah, Tiamba, I think they're going to be bottom B. You got to prove it to me, Tiamba. I haven't seen it. There's been so much hype in 2021 for your team, and you just have not lived up to it. So, and you got to live in the shadow of New Happy and Petrichor Road just in China there. So, yeah. Arguably the third best Chinese team, 17 Gaming, Sonic's Nemesis, PGC 2021, contested them in Picado and Pochinki and pretty much bullied that team out of their favorite drop spots. They didn't really do well internationally in PGC 2021. I think that hot drop also affected them, but at least they made it into like the 10th or 11th or 12th spot. I can't remember which one. They made it out of groups and they played in the grand final, whereas Sonics did not, based off of that. The upside there, if they did have a non-contested drop spot, I think they easily would have cracked the top 10, possibly top 6. Team is hyper aggressive. I think Show is one of the up and coming. I think his breakout, he's a young player, but I think his breakout was 2021, like end of 2021, beginning of 2022. And with them, with Show, with like Little Ghost, and Shibei, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Shibei, who by the way is the best player there, the MVP of that team. I think they're a cracked unit, and if they have Pochinki and Picado, if they bully Sonics out of that drop spot again, I think they're gonna have a really good tournament. But again, they live in the shadow of New Happy and Petrichor Road in terms of their own region. But I still think that they're an A team. Bagopa, second coolest name in all of PUBG for PGC. Bagopa. So Bagopa has Pio, right, and Sungjan. Sungjan played on Kia, and Pio obviously came from Genji. Right? He was the staple of Genji, staple of the Korean region. Everybody knows Pio. I think people figured Pio out and some of his solo antics in 2022. He died a lot more often trying to scout. But in 2021, 2020, and 2019, Pio was the face of this game. Everybody knew his name. Absolute cracked unit. He's amazing at this game. So Bagopa picked him up. He came off of his tour in the military, in the Korean military that he had to do, and formed the team Bagopa with Sungjan and a couple other people. I can't remember. Too Hard. So there's experience there, and then they have the fourth player I don't know. So, and that team doesn't have a lot of pedigree, right? They're a brand new formed team, but they went into PCS 7, got third place, I believe, or third or fourth, and secured enough points to go to Worlds. And I can't see an international event without Pio in it, so I'm very happy that they made it, and I'm really looking forward to them playing well. However, I still think they are B, because this event is going to test them as a team, and we'll see how Sungjan and Too Hard respond to Pio's solo antics, and if they can kind of get it together and see how that's going to work. So I think Bagopa is going to be better than Yahoo. Yeah, I think right now they're top of B. All right, 22 esports. So a lot of people will look at me and say, Moxie, you're nuts. How is 22 esports not in your D tier? And I'll say this. For whatever reason, the Latin American teams play well internationally. I don't get it. Brazil third in Nations Cup. Meta Gaming, if you remember that, in PGIS, they finished 7th, securing over $350,000 off the play of what now is the roster of Fumba, although plus or minus one player. Don't quote me exactly on that. So 22 Esports, I think, is a C tier. C tier. I think they did really well in PCS 7. I think they showed that they can play with the top teams in the NA portion of the Americas region. Gizera is an absolute stud, and watch out for Gizera. He's going to be a player that I expect to be in the top 20 ranked, or top 10 even. I will venture to say that very soon. BBL. I think some of this roster, maybe one person on this roster, is former DA that got 4th place. Digital Athletic got 4th place in PGIS 2 years ago in Winner and Chicken Dinner format. But typically Turkish teams, very aggressive, send it in the middle in circle 3, get absolutely popped on rotation, and then you see them in shacks and bushes at the end of the game trying to survive and get some points. I just don't think they'll do well. But I think they'll do better than Buriram, and I think they'll do better than 22. Danwa. Danwa is top B, bottom A. I'm going to put them in top B for now. But I think I might switch them to bottom A. Let's see who else I put in bottom A. So here's the thing about Danwa, right? Danwa has a lot of experience. They played internationally in pretty much any international event. And in PGC21, the one that mattered last year in Worlds, they were 5th. Yeah, they were 5th. They play well as a team, but none of their players are very pop-off. Them and the Freaks have the same kind of problem. There's not a lot of pop-off potential. So 5th at PGC21, I think, was kind of like their ceiling there. They do pretty okay regionally. Typically win 2nd or 3rd place behind Genji in the Korean ranks. And then in PCSs, they're usually, hovering around top 6. But I don't know. For whatever reason, that team just plays well internationally. And I consider them to be the 2nd best Korean team behind Genji. And I think that they're going to do well. I think they're going to do really, really well. So I'll put them in B for now. But I think they're going to be bottom A at the end of this. Day Trade Gaming. I think they're the best. I think they're the best APAC team coming out of that region. Winners of PCS 7, runners up behind Buriram in PCS 6. Didn't do quite as well in PCS 5, but again, it's a team that absolutely folds when it comes to international play in Worlds. When Buriram is 23rd and 22nd, Day Trade Gaming is below that. They don't even make it out of group stages. There's zero statistical data to prove to me that they're going to perform well. However, they are the most dominant force coming out of APAC region, and I gotta give them their due. Plus, all their players have international LAN experience. I just wish that they actually did something with it. So not quite D, but I cannot put them above of BBL and C tier. So I think that's where they'll stay. E United. Second best team coming out of Americas. Ton of experience on that roster. And adding Flood, I think, made that team better. Nothing against Bale. I think Bale was absolutely cracked, and we're seeing that on the Aho. But I think adding Flood was an absolute dub. I think that they're a better team. The one thing I need from them, please, United, please, 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 do better internationally. They just don't. For whatever reason. They just don't. I don't get it. Like, they're cracked units. They're an absolute great team. And for whatever reason, they just can't seem to string it and push top 10 in international, both in PGC and in PGIS. They just can't. So I need to get the boys to show me that they can, because I think they have the pedigree. I think they have the pedigree to be top 10, make it out of groups, and then perform really well. But I haven't seen it. I have not seen it. Maybe Flood is the difference. Maybe adding Flood is going to be what changes that. But to me, they're top of B tier right now. Really great team. Really great team. FaZe. I am going to piss a lot of people off here, but I am not going to apologize for this. I'm just not. This is going to be one of the 2 most contentious things I'm going to say with this one. FaZe is not a good team. They have not been since they let Mexi go. And I don't think it's a Mexi thing. I think the game has changed. When is the last time somebody said to you, FaZe Sunday? Oh, wait. Oh, wait. The phase of 2019 and 2020 is not the same phase of 2021 and 2022. Those guys are cracked as individual players, but there's something that's missing with that team. What do they have? They did okay in PGIS. They were 9th, and that's because they won week 3. And then they were 27th last year at Worlds. 27th. Right? Like, they finished worse than Brewery Round. And they have 1 PCS win under their belt, and a 2nd place and a 4th place. That's it. I just can't. That team will have to prove to me. I think they're a C tier, and if they don't make it out of groups, I'm not going to be surprised. Gustav, I don't know what's going on there, but you guys just have to do better. Gex. Outside of so Gex is a Taiwanese team. They had 1 good event internationally. They finished 7th in PGC21. But for whatever reason, every other tournament, whether it's PCS 7, 6, or 5, they're bottom of the rankings every time. For whatever reason, those guys they get popped so easy. I kind of call it. I kind of say there's this running joke between our family when we watch PUBG esports for the last like 2 years. Gex is easy points. Like whenever Gex gets killed, we always say, "Oh yeah, easy points." I hope they do well. They did well in PGC 21. They were finished 7th. That's better than a lot of teams. So I have to give them the due of that performance and at least put them at bottom of C. But they could all easily be top of D as well. But I'm going to put them bottom of C for now. Freaks. Here's how I feel about the Freaks. Freaks and Danhwa is the same team to me, other than Danhwa is a little bit better. Freaks don't have a lot of firepower. None of those guys have pop-off material. They're not in the top 30 in rankings of international rankings for players. None of those players are there, but they play well as a team. So they're going to be another feast and famine team. They're either going to do well or they won't. I can either see them make it out of groups or not. I think they're a very run-of-the-mill average team and 4th best. No, 3rd best in Korea at this time. No, 4th. Because I have Bagopa as number 3. Okay, and here's where I'm going to get absolutely wrecked on being an NA fanboy. Luminosity Gaming. I think they're an A tier team. Stay with me on this. Luminosity Gaming, formerly STK, has performed exceptionally well at Worlds. They were the group winners for PGIS. They were 4th in PGC 2021. 4th overall. That was the best America's team. You know, you had New Happy, you had Heroic, and then you had Twisted Minds, right? And then you had Luminosity Gaming under the STK banner. Those boys know how to play internationally. I don't know what it is. They kick it in next gear. I can clearly... if I had to put money, I think they'll do better than United in this tournament. They struggled regionally, right? Nobody talks about... Like, when you say, who are the powerhouses in the Americas region, you're going to say Sonics and United. You're not going to mention Luminosity Gaming. Their last win was PCS 1, right? But for whatever reason, those boys know how to play internationally. The stress and the anxiety doesn't get to them, and they just perform. I have high hopes for Luminosity Gaming. I think this is a tournament for them to reinstate themselves as top 3 teams in the Americas region. and if I see them in the top 6 finishing this tournament, I won't be surprised. I think they're an A tier team, although towards the bottom. Navi, I'm sorry, Navi is not a good team. Same thing as FaZe. That team has struggled since they let Pokemoldoy and the Doozy go. The Navi of 2019 and 2020 is not the same team Navi of 2021 and 2022. The winner chicken dinner format plus going back to Super, they have not figured it out. They have not played well as a team. They finished in the bottom 3 of PCS 7, even though they had some absolute fraggers. Half of that roster is the former Tornado Energy roster, who was ranked the number 2 CIS team behind NLT in the EU for a long time. They have Uba on that team, who has experience on FaZe, experience on Navi the first go around. They brought him back, but on paper that team should be strong. In terms of their play, they suck, and I don't think they'll do well in this tournament. I don't think they make it out of groups. I think I am gonna rank them above. No, I think 22 is gonna have a better tournament. I will give FaZe the benefit of the doubt and say this. Okay. 3 more teams, chat, and then we're done. 4 minutes to go. Overpeakers. How dare you put the former team Liquid at C tier? Dude, they haven't been a good team in 2 years. They have not. And it shows because they're breaking up. First team Liquid drops them, right? And then now they're dissolving the team after this tournament. The only upside, the only kind of thing that I'll say about Overpeakers right now is that 1, every one of those boys is absolutely cracked, and 2, because they know that they're going to dissolve after this tournament, one of 2 things is going to happen. Either they're going to say, fuck it, we're just going to send it and just play the best PUBG of our lives, or they're gonna have a couple bad games and get in the mindset of, well, we're dissolving anyway, so who cares about this tournament, and then not even make it out of groups. So I think there's gonna be a careful balance there of their psyche and of their mentality, and I really wish that they go towards the we have nothing to lose, this is our last event, let's go out with a blaze of glory and do well. But that is not a situation I want a team to be in going into an international event. Therefore, I cannot rank them higher than, you know what? We'll put them bottom B. We'll put them bottom B because I'll give them the benefit of the doubt of playing well in the past. I'll do this. I think they're just above FaZe, but I don't have high hopes for them. I just don't. Polish Powers, finally. Psych, we're gonna do Tyloo first. Tyloo is a C team, but I'm gonna put them here. Tyloo, they're at best top 6. They have not finished better than 6 in any of the tournaments. I think they're the 6th, 7th best team in Asian region, 5th best, 4th best, 5th best coming out of China. They don't really have a pedigree to show that they're going to do well. They have not performed well internationally. So I am putting them in the C tier. They're pretty aggressive though, and that could play to their favor. I think FaZe will do better than them. I think they're Asia's version of BBL. I think that's exactly how I see them. Finally, Polish Power. This is for you, Sly. They're a C tier. They're a bit of an unknown. They don't scrim, but they don't rotate well. They don't. Watch VODs for PCS 7. Sure, they finished 3rd, but they don't rotate well. They had some very aggressive high kill games that kind of counteracted some of their poor rotations. So Polish Power, no, this is going to be the first tournament that they play internationally, right? They're very aggressive. I'm looking forward. I'll be cheering for these boys, right? I hope that they do well, but there's just no historical data to prove to me that they're going to perform. So if they don't make it out of groups, I won't be surprised. But I'm rooting for them. They're my underdog team for the tournament. Polish Power is. All right. I am happy with this. To recap, I think New Happy is the favorite, unless Sonic says Pochinki and Picado. If Sonic says Pochinki and Picado, I think this is how it's gonna go. But if they don't, I think New Happy is the winner. I'm happy with this list.